Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you're from. You have a tale. You matter. On this show, we strive to bring you the tales of people from Small Hope College in Holland, Michigan. So join us. Sit back, relax, kick your feet up, plug in the headphones or crank the music up on your drive, and just listen to our tales. Because it doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter who you are. You have a tale, and you deserve to be heard. Ladies, gentlemen, and everybody else, welcome to the Tales of Hope podcast. I'm your host, Nick McNamara. If you've listened to the old episodes, you would know that. If not, do me a favor. Actually, do yourself a favor, I should say. Pause this episode. I'll be right here waiting for you when you get back, and go listen to all the old ones. You can find those wherever you're listening to this from. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss those, especially all the interviews. My guests so far have been amazing. You do not want to miss out on those. So, go give those a listen. Then come on back. Maybe I'll see you in a couple days because it's going to take you a little while to get through them. But hey, you know what? You're going to get through in the end. And you're going to thank me later. Hopefully. Yeah. As I said, this is the Tales of Hope podcast. You can find us on all of our social media. Facebook, just search Tales of Hope podcast. You'll find it. Instagram and Twitter, at Tales of Hope Pod, all lowercase, no spaces, no underscore, nothing. YouTube, search Tales of Hope Podcast, we should pop up. Anchor, you can either find us on the Anchor app, just search Tales of Hope, or on their website, anchor.fm/Tales of Hope. They'll take you right to the page. And, on either the app or on the website, you will find that we are linked to other podcast listening places aside from Anchor. These include Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Apple Podcasts, and our brand new hosting site. I'm not sure what you would call it, but anyways, our brand new site, which I'm very excited about, Castbox. If you have not heard of Castbox, I think it's been out for a couple years now. 2016, 2017, somewhere in there is when it came out. It is, from what I hear, and from what it looks like on Google Play Store is what I have, but I'm sure iTunes will be the same. The number one podcast listening app on both, which is amazing. It has 4.7 stars when I saw on Google Play, which is phenomenal, because that's out of 5 stars. That's great. So, give them a listen on there. That interface is amazing on mobile. It's very easy to use, so feel free to go ahead, give them a check out, and you're going to find lots of other cool podcasts on there as well, so you're welcome. Anyways, I am not sitting here with a guest, as if you follow the podcast social media pages, you will know I am doing another building. Excuse me. But yeah, so this is not a guest, this is a building, because I just couldn't find anyone this week. I have someone lined up next week. Very, very excited for that guest. But we were just going to have to wait. Instead, I wanted to cover one of my favorite buildings on campus. And actually, one that I think is very haunted. And one that I think is very fun to clean. Which is kind of weird to sound. This is Dimnent Chapel. You can find Dimnent on the west end of campus. Just off of College. I always get College and Columbia mixed up. You can find it on College, right across from the east doors of the Science Center. Yes. You can find it there. You can't miss it. Just look for the beautiful rose window that is up facing the Science Center. And look for the tower that's right next to it as well. But this building is amazing. And before I go into the history of it, as you heard me say, I think it's haunted. It's very haunted. I have encountered some kind of freaky things that have gone on there. And so I just want to talk about those real quick for any of you paranormal fans that are listening to this. If you don't believe in the paranormal, you think it's stupid, whatever, you don't want to hear this, skip ahead for the next few minutes. I totally get it. Don't worry. Just let me get this out of my system because I'm very excited to talk about this. And then we'll get right back into the building. So, I don't remember the exact day. It was a Saturday. I know that much. I got asked to come in and start at midnight instead of 5 a.m. like I normally do on Saturdays because the very first day of our Vespers shows were about to begin. And so we needed to get that cleaned before 8 o'clock because they were going to do the recordings for the CDs that they sell. And so my boss asked me if I could come in at midnight instead of 5 and just start cleaning on my own. And a student was going to come in. Originally, he was going to come in at 3, but then he came in. They changed it to 5 o'clock is when he showed up. So for 5 hours, I was alone in that building. And for those of you who aren't aware, 3 o'clock is what is called the witch's hour or the devil's hour, the paranormal hour, whatever you want to call it. Basically, this is when the spirits, good and bad, are supposed to be their most active. This is when, a lot of things that you see on TV, like Ghost Adventures and all that stuff, that would be when a lot of their stuff would be happening, is 3 a.m. So, I take my first break of the day at 3 o'clock, and I'm sitting in our office, and I'm like, it was probably a couple minutes before I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, let's see if this is, an actual real thing, because I've never been awake doing stuff at 3 a.m. I'm usually either just waking up or sleeping. So I was like, let's see, if this is real. And I mean, I'm in the chapel. You would think there wouldn't be anything really going on or anything evil. So as soon as it hits 3 a.m., I am greeted with the creak of the door frame of the office, which that's just the wood creaking. But that was enough to scare me. And I don't know, 10 minutes later, all the way at the other end of the building, I hear one of the locked doors shut. One of the entryway doors, these are large wooden doors for those of you who have never been in the chapel. So it shut, and it made, a loud noise when it hit the frame. And I stopped, and I'm like, oh, maybe this is Ben, my student. Maybe Ben actually showed up at 3 instead of 5. Like, maybe times just got mixed up between all of us, and he was actually showing up then. So, yeah. I wait, and I don't hear any footsteps. Because our office is down in the basement. And so he would have to walk down steps, and they're not carpeted steps. They are, can't remember the special name of, like, the finish on the floor of the auditoriums, but it's, they're that same finish is on the steps. So it's solid, whatever kind of stone it might be. You can hear footsteps on those. I don't hear any footsteps. I'm like, oh, maybe he's just, he's light of foot. and he was able to get down there and not making any noise. So I go check what we call the green room, which is kind of our base of operations on the weekends, where we have our checklist and kids will take their breaks in there and everything. So I go take a peek in there. There's nobody there. There's nobody in the building at all aside from me, and I heard that door shut. Now, I posted about this night on Facebook after it happened, and one of the campus safety officers who I'm friends with said to me, you know, I think he was saying there was like a new officer on duty who had just opened it, saw the lights were on, shut it, like they told him that I was going to be in there cleaning. But I don't know, like, it didn't sound like it was for sure. It was just like, oh, hey, we had a new guy on duty last night. Like, he could have just came in. But I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like you had to have been there and heard the door opening / it would have been shutting actually, so it just didn't sound like there was somebody. Especially after what happened the rest of the night. Or I should say the rest of the morning. So that's at 3 a.m. About 5:30, Ben is there. He's working on vacuuming in the handicap cab, the handicap elevator area. He's vacuuming down there before he mops it. So I'm mopping the auditorium, and I don't know, the best way for me to explain it would be if someone took a picture of you with the flash on their camera. Just right in my eyes, just a bright white flash of light. And I'm kind of, looking around like, oh, did someone take a picture? There's nobody in there. I'm the only one in the auditorium. Ben's the only one downstairs. Doors are still locked. It's just the two of us in this building. So I'm like, okay, this is scaring me a little bit. Like, that's not natural. So, as any janitor would do, I continue to clean. And I'm going further along the side of the auditorium that I'm on, mopping. And as soon as I get underneath the balcony, I hear a thump above me. And I'm like, okay, that could be, there have been bats found in buildings. Maybe that's, I don't know, maybe a bat unfortunately died, fell, hit the balcony floor, caused a thump. Or maybe something else fell and caused a thump. Well, my student goes up there a little later, and he doesn't say a word. He doesn't say to me, hey, I found, this fell over, or, oh, there's a dead bat, like I was thinking. He doesn't say anything to me. I'm freaking out, people, because all this stuff is happening. It's only happening to me. He's not realizing it. There's nobody else in this building. It's just me. And I told this story on Facebook. I posted it after. And immediately people are, other workers from Hope are, saying to me, oh yeah, another campus safety officer said, I saw a dark figure, one night, evening, I don't remember, in the chapel. I saw a dark figure moving along, like going towards the bathrooms. I went in there to look because the building must have been closed at that point, and there was nobody there. Like, I don't know how to explain it to anybody who doesn't believe in the paranormal, but like, this building, as I'm sure most other buildings are on campus, this building is haunted. And it's a chapel. So, I just wanted to get that, out of the way right off the bat. Because, I didn't want to bore you with potentially bore some of you with the building history and then tell it at the end, and very few people listen to it because they've shut it off by that point. I want to get this out of the way first because I thought that was awesome. And I kind of want to say to Campus Safety, hey, are you guys cool with me being just in the chapel, no reason at all, at like 3 a.m. and just recording stuff that happens, or some other buildings on campus? Because I'm very interested in this. I mean, it wasn't, there's no life-threatening encounter or anything. It was just these few things. It's like, I want to see what else can happen while I'm in there, And I mean, when I get to some of the other buildings, I'll talk about, let's see, I've had experiences in now 3 buildings, because I mentioned in the library that I don't remember if I said exactly, but I've seen what looked like human-sized shapes move through the aisles, or the bookshelves, but there's nobody there. So, I've seen stuff, I've had stuff happen in the library, I've had stuff happen here in the chapel, I've heard noises and seen a motion light turn on even though there's nobody else in the building in DeVos Field House. I know my brother has some stories from the Dow when he worked there. So you can hear, see, find a lot of things around campus at night. So maybe I can compile a list of stories and just dedicate an episode to that. Or, if I interview people, ask them, maybe cut the clips, edit them together that way. Who knows? If that's something you want, let me know. I'll try to find some more stories. But those are my ghost stories from the chapel and the library. I had to throw that last one in there. Sorry. So, that being said, let's go on to the history of Dimnent Chapel. And before we begin, if you hear any, weird noises, if you remember, this is a dual lapel mic that I'm speaking into. So the other mic is laying on the bed next to me. So sometimes you might hear, my hand brush against the bed, whatever. Just, small noises like that. I apologize. Try not to do it, but there's really no place for me to set this mic where it won't pick up noises. So just bear with me, please. Anyways. Excuse me. So the construction of Dimnent Chapel started in 1927, and if you look, that entrance near the rose window that I was talking about earlier that faces the Science Center, that's the handicap entrance. Near that, let's see, that'll be on the south end of the building over there. There's actually a stone that has our motto, Spera in Deo, hope in God. Oh yeah, that's our cornerstone, actually. I'm looking at my notes, and yeah, I was going to talk about it later, but anyways, I can talk about it now. That is the cornerstone. It has Spera in Deo, hope in God, which is the hope motto, and 1927. So that's pretty cool. If you're out walking, you can look over and see that. And, for a building that's been up since 1927, that stone looks really good. I mean, it doesn't look like it's been through, almost 100 years of wear and tear. So, this building has been kept in phenomenal shape. So, it started in 1927 and completed 2 years later in 1929 by a man named W.K. Johnston. This man is the same person who designed Graves Hall, which is situated to the north, right next door to the chapel. Which, if you've seen famous pictures of the Hope College arch, the building, if you were walking towards the arch, straight ahead of that is Graves Hall. And to the right of that would be the chapel. So, the chapel is actually located near two famous Hope landmarks, because also nearby on the other side of graves is our anchor statue. So, it's kind of a freshman tradition to take a picture at the anchor. Usually that would be done orientation weekend, the end of it when the families are going home, take pictures at the anchor. You can see that a lot, or like homecoming, whatever. But so, like I said, chapel's located near two famous Hope landmarks. It was originally named not Dimnent Chapel, but Hope Memorial Chapel, and after his time as president, it was renamed Dimnent Memorial Chapel in honor of Dr. Edward D. Dimnent, who was the 5th president of Hope College, who led the construction effort of this building. He was president from 1918 to 1931, and unlike Gordon Van Wylen, who the library is named after, I could not find much information on Dr. Dimnent other than when he was president from. So my apologies on that, but this is the information I can provide for him. It's not as detailed as Gordon Van Wylen. Building construction cost was $404,000, which doesn't really sound that much in today's money, but you have to remember this was started in 1927. That was a lot of money back then. So I went on the CPI inflation calculator online, and I looked to see what that is in today's money. This building in today's money cost, to the exact penny, $5,827,734.63. That is a lot of money. So back then, it was a huge chunk of money. Now, holy cow, that is a lot of money to create a chapel. But that just goes to show, and when you look at pictures of it or see it in person, you can see that this building wasn't just thrown together. Like, there's a lot of detail put into it, so the cost makes sense. I found some information on the foundation of the building, which I thought was pretty cool. The foundation is made out of poured cement. The walls are actually made of limestone. The roof is kind of two parts. To build up, there's a slope on there, so to build up to the slope, it is modified bitumen and bituminous material. I believe that's how you would say it. So again, that's building up to the slope. And then in the slope, along the slope, the roof is made of tiles. So I'm not sure if the tiles are actually brass, because you can look out at it from the 3rd and 4th floors of the library. There are a couple large windows that you can look out and you can see it, and they look like brass. It looks like they look like large pennies on the roof, but they're not tarnished. So I'm not sure exactly what these tiles are made out of. I wish I could have found that. That would have been awesome to know, but this building is gorgeous from the outside, and when you get inside, it looks even better. The stained glass windows, because is it a chapel without stained glass windows, were made by a man named Z.A. Zucchi. He was a craftsman from Venice, Italy. These windows are all along the... Excuse me. Wow. Sorry about that. They are along the north and south walls in the auditorium. And Are they in the basement? Don't believe in the basement. I think the basement has regular windows. So, if you walk in north, south, and east walls of the auditorium, sorry, there are some on the east wall, you can see all of these made by this man, Z.A. Zucchi. They were imported from Venice to Hardy Payne Studios in Patterson, New Jersey. From there, they were brought to Holland, Michigan. And during the construction, they were installed right then. Now, these windows have I believe all the saints on them. Don't quote me on that. I will admit I haven't looked at all of them, but I have recognized some of the saints on those windows, so if you would like to know who's exactly on these windows, feel free to come in and check it out. Take a little tour through there. The famous rose window that I talked about, you would, if you search a picture, if you just go on Google, and search, Dimnent Chapel, you're going to find a picture of this gorgeous rose stained glass window. It's located up in the balcony on the east wall, again, facing the Science Center. It's a gift from the class of 1916. It cost $4,000 to make, which, again, went to the CPI inflation calculator, checked it out. $97,091.92. It's a lot of 90s in today's money. So, it's actually less money than I thought it would have cost to create something this large and beautiful. Sorry, I keep yawning. Wow. I'm very tired today. Between the main auditorium floor and the balcony, the building seats approximately 1,500 people. But if you show up to the Monday, Wednesday, Friday chapel services at 10:30, you will notice there are a lot of people standing along the walls and a lot of people in the lobby foyer area, because there are not enough seats for the amount of people that show up to this, which A, is awesome because that's a lot of people showing up to a 25 to 30 minute long church service. And yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what B would be, but I mean, just, that's a testament to how many people want to go and attend these services. Now, these Sunday night gatherings won't attract that many people. You won't see anybody standing along the outsides or in the back, but still, a lot of times it's a pretty good crowd there. And then when you get to the last gatherings of the semesters, which would be around Christmas and then in the spring before exams, they do special gatherings, and those are packed houses. The Christmas one is called Lessons and Carols, so that's similar to a typical Christmas service. And the one in the spring is, dedicated to the seniors. And they do what is called the Rope of Hope, which is where they take a large piece of rope, first they have all the seniors stand up and line up around the outside of the auditorium, along the outer wall, and across the back, across the front stage, everything. And then they all hold on to this large piece of rope, and they take a pair of scissors, cut segments of rope off for each senior, and that is, kind of their reminder of Hope College that they take with them when they leave, which is really cool. And unfortunately, I did not go to that. And I kind of regret that. I don't know why. I don't know what I was doing. Maybe I was studying for exams. I don't know. But I unfortunately did not go to that and I missed out. This is... Whew. Excuse me. This is the college's 4th worship chapel since 1857. I believe before this, they actually used Graves Hall as their chapel, and I will cover that more when I cover Graves. There are 5 classrooms in the basement. Sorry, let's count it out. Yeah, there are 5 classrooms in the basement, and in the summertime, when weddings are being hosted in the chapel, those classrooms actually turn into dressing rooms of sorts, because I believe, each is equipped with a full-size standing mirror and a small, like, cabinet mirror. You would open up the doors and there's just a small mirror there about the size of a medicine cabinet mirror. So those are used during wedding times. And not only is the chapel home to chapel services and weddings, but there are lectures that are held there, performances. My freshman year, during orientation weekend, we actually went and saw an improv comedy group perform there, which I thought was really cool. It's also really hot because there's no air conditioning in that building, and you had a freshman class of 700 some. We broke the record that year. So it was a lot of bodies packed together, and everyone was sweating. It was not fun. And there are other events that are held there throughout the year. One big one that is held every year, but I don't think they did it this year, is the Critical Issues Symposium. What that is it will target a large hot button topic in the world today, and we will have guest speakers, mainly faculty and staff, but others from the outside talking to us about different areas, different fields, but relating back to the main topic. I have attended that, I think, 2 years. I attended talks on that, and it was really cool, but sometimes they'll have it, sometimes they won't. It just depends on what's going on. So, yeah, I believe that is all for Dimnent Chapel. Yeah, that's all. It's not like the library where, there are 5 floors, here's what you do on each floor, here are the different services that are offered. It's not one of those. This is, unless you have class or going to a worship service, you're not going to be in here. That's not to say you're not allowed to be in there. While cleaning, I have seen students in there studying, working on homework, talking with friends. So it's still used. It's just there's not a whole lot to do in there. It's a nice, quiet place to go and reflect. So that is everything about Dimnent. If I am missing something and you would like me to talk about it, please leave a comment in the social media or in a review, or just tell me in person if you see me, and I'll make sure to write about it on social media, or my next episode I'll bring it up. I'll make sure to get it out there. So yeah, that was Dimnent Chapel. Very short episode, kind of like our 2 of our first 3 interviews. But that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you for listening. Very much appreciate it. Look forward to next week's episode. I will not announce who that is until we get closer, and that will be on social media. So do not ask me. I will not tell you. You will have to wait to find out. But anyways, speaking of the social media, here's where you can find that information and a lot more about the show. Look us up on Facebook at Tales of Hope Podcast. Just search it. You'll find us. The profile picture for every single bit of social media is the exact same. It is the one you are seeing, if you're listening to this on podcast site, it's that. Or YouTube, it's that blue and orange one, minus the picture of Dimnent Chapel, which, by the way, I had almost forgotten. I don't think she would have been too thrilled. Well, she wouldn't have been too thrilled with me. The picture that we are using for the thumbnail on YouTube and on social media when I'm posting this is not a picture that I took, like what happened with the library. This was actually a picture taken by, if you listened back from the start to the, the spotlight that I did on my friend Erin Doolittle, who graduated just this year in 2018. She took this picture. And I asked her to use it because A, it's a really good picture, and B, I knew she had taken one, and it's way better than I could have taken with my phone. She took it with an actual camera. So, shout out to class of 2018's Erin Doolittle for this picture. And yeah, where was I going with that? Where was I? Anyways, I guess that was kind of before I went on the social media. Yes, that was. Okay. Whew. Tangent over. Find us on Facebook at Tales of Hope Podcast. Instagram and Twitter at Tales of Hope Pod. One word, all lowercase. YouTube, search Tales of Hope Podcast. And the Anchor app. And on the website, you can search for Tales of Hope or go to anchor.fm/Tales of Hope. Through these, you can find... Sorry, I wrote that wrong on the script and I just read it word for word. On there, you can find the podcast on the following: Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Apple Podcasts, and again, the newest one, Castbox. Give it a check, give it a listen on any of those, or YouTube, or wherever you would like. So, rambling over, this has been the Tales of Hope Podcast. I am your host, Nick, and do not forget, you can be a ranting, raving, rambling, incoherent at times college janitor like myself. You can be a student, you can be a professor, you can be a coach or a chaplain or a librarian or any other guest that I've had on the show. You can be any of them. You have a tale. Your life matters. You are no better, no worse than anybody else in this world. Your tale deserves to be heard by everyone else, and this is the show for it. And I keep forgetting to add, and I need to put it in my show notes, you can email the show as well with any comments, criticisms, reviews, questions, or if you were a member of the Hope community, students, faculty, staff, alumni, and you would like to be on the show, feel free to send me an email and we can work out how to get you on. I am going to experiment with doing this via Skype as well. We're going to see how that works out, but if I'm able to do that, then I can get a hold of alumni from all over instead of just restricting myself to people who are in the area. So, let me know if you want to be on the show, and I will talk to you guys next week. See ya.